Hi everyone, my name is Oladapo Johnson Otukoya. We want to answer the third question for Commerce 2019 West African Senior School Certificate Examination, also known as WAEC for school candidates. We have three questions and question 3 is divided into two, A and B. So we answered the first part, which is question A. And the question is, state 5 reasons that would make a bank dishonor a customer's check. That is, some of the things that could make a bank not to accept a check to be withdrawn when presented at the bank. So I will list some of this. I will list 11 points. So if a student is able to mention 5 out of them, he or she is good to go. So let's start from the number 1. So the number 1 reason why a bank would dishonor a check is when the amount written in figures does not correspond or does not tally to the one in words. That is, for instance, if you wrote 1,200 naira in figure and you now wrote 1,000 naira in words, the bank will dishonor your check. They will not allow you to withdraw. Another point, which is the number 2 point, is when the drawer's signature is different from the specimen captured when the account was opened. This means that if the signature that is written on the check as at the time it was presented for withdrawal is different from the one that was signed when the account was opened, if they do not tally, if they do not correspond, if they don't look the same, the bank will reject the check. So it could be, maybe they could observe that there is a fraud or something is about to happen on the account, so they will dishonor it. The third point for dishonoring a check is if the bank has been informed about the demise or insanity of the account holder. If somebody is dead and the account is the check is still presented for withdrawal after the person's death, the bank will reject it. Or if the person is insane, when the person has mental disorder, is mad as we call it, so they will also reject it, knowing fully well that a mad person is not in his right mind and so would not have presented the check for withdrawal. The fourth point is when a court of competent jurisdiction freezes the account, that is garnishee order. Many a times the High Court and other courts, other higher courts, either the Court of Appeal or Supreme Court, could order that the account be frozen on the account. Maybe the person committed a fraud, or the person borrowed loan and is not able to repay or something. It could be. So number 5 reason for dishonoring a check is when the amount on the check is greater than the account balance. So if the person wants to draw beyond or above what he has in his account, the bank will also reject it. Another point is when the owner orders the bank to stop the payment of the check. This is simple, so I may not really need to further explain. If the check is not, number 7, if the check is not presented within a period of 6 months, if it has expired, that is, any check that is presented after 6 months will not be accepted for drawing or for withdrawal. Then another point 8 is if there are alterations without signature. For instance, if somebody wrote something and cancelled it, it is expected that the person signs the regular signature on it. So that is the only way it can be accepted. But if there is an alteration or cancellation, the person did not sign or countersign that error, the check will be rejected. Another point, point 9, is if any of the essential features of the check is missing. That is, there is no date, there is no signature, there is no payee. The name of the date is not written on it. You did not sign the check, or the receiver, the person that wants to get the money, his name is not there. So the check could be rejected. Another point, number 10 point, is if the check is mutilated. Let's assume that everything is done. The check was properly sign. But in the process of tearing it off from the booklet, if there is a tear on the main check, it will be rejected, or maybe in the process of handling, you give it to a small child, or even the person that was given to, if there is a tear, or if it was not it was, I think, mainly if there is a tear, it will be rejected. So you need to be careful with a check. And the 11th point, which is the last point I will give for the dishonoring of the check, is if the check is presented before the date written on it or post-dated. So if a check is given to you on 6th February 2021, and if it was meant to be presented on that day, but if the date on it was 6th February 2021, you now presented it on the 4th February 2021, it will not be accepted. So if you are able to list 5 out of the 11 points, you will get your full mark for question 3A. Then question 3B is state 5 reasons country introduce restrictions in foreign trade. You want to know why countries, when dealing with each other or with one another, why they introduce restrictions. Number one reason why restrictions are made or placed in foreign trade include countries restrict trade to protect their home or infant industries from competition or more advanced industries abroad, like Nigeria. There are some things that can be produced locally. So if those goods are brought from abroad, let's assume we can produce toothpick or baby diaper or diaper generally, or sanitary pad, or maybe gari, or whatever we can produce, or cocoa, that's the popular any of the cocoa drinks, or anything that we can produce locally. And if importers now want to bring them in, government could place a restriction on that. Then another one is number 2 is to enable local industries expand and employ indigenes, because if you have more goods from abroad, many of the local industries may not even produce more, and so they will close up and there will be unemployment. So in order to allow employment and for companies to expand, restrictions could be placed on foreign trade. Number 3 reason is trade restriction through the use of tariffs generate revenue for government. So if they restrict some trades, there are some goods, if they restrict them from coming in by increasing the tariff, it will also increase the government revenue, and also those people that want to import it will not want to bring such a good. And the 4th point is countries restrict foreign trade to improve their balance of payment with other country. If a country does not want another country to bring a product to their country, they may also retaliate by imposing restriction of their own goods to their country. So that's another reason. Another reason is number 7th reason is trade restriction is also used to reduce the demand for specific goods. So if you discover that countries that your residents or citizens are demanding for a particular good, you can use trade restrictions. Just like when the government says rice should not be imported, chicken should not be imported, when we can produce them. So instead of demanding for foreign rice or foreign chicken, government now wanted Nigerians to buy the ones that are locally made. So government use trade restriction, they use trade restriction to restrict foreign trade and such. Then to prevent dumping of goods from more established foreign firms. This is one of the reasons why it is even done in Africa, because some of them, because they have technological advancement, they produce more, hoping to bring it to Africa. And by the time it is done, many of our companies will not grow. So government could introduce restriction. Then another one is to prevent importation of harmful goods. It is there is a school of thought that says that people go to some countries that I will not want to mention to bring in goods, substandard goods, into the country. So if the government discovers that, they may decide to restrict foreign trade with such countries, so that we will not take harmful substances. Even in the process of bringing in goods, people repackage substances that are even harmful and bring it in like they are normal something, and in the process they will bring in things that are bad for the environment. So these are some of the reasons why government introduce restrictions on foreign trade. So if you mention any any five reasons for introducing restrictions in foreign trade among countries, if you are able to mention 5 out of the 9, you are good to go. Thank you for watching. We'll go to question 4.